And welcome into the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Gary Mathangani, joined in by the head coach of the Anderson Bulldogs, Eddie Bullock. And first off, Coach, a tough loss on the road at Moody, 21-14. First off, just your overall thoughts of the game. You had to deal with a lot of issues with the weather and different sets of adversities. Just talk about the way everything played out Friday night.
Well, it was a tremendous ball game. It was hard fought and a tough game, and proud of how hard the guys played. We just came up on the short end of the stick on the scoreboard, and I was pleased with the way we played, minus a few penalties here and there, but everything else was pretty good.
You guys had to weather, like we said earlier, a lot of the weather stuff. You had to weather those storms, and
Right.
there's a lot of storms that passed through the area there in Jefferson County. You were caught up in that. For those that weren't at the game, talk about some of the things y'all had to deal with.
Well, we almost had about a 2-hour delay. I think we ended up starting maybe 10 minutes till 9 to play the game, and that was due to lightning. Every time we would get set to play, we'd get a lightning strike.
Right.
And according to the rules, you have to wait 30 minutes from the lightning strike. So, the main thing was just trying to keep them focused, and not letting them get restless or get the horse playing around and things like that, and we did a pretty good job of it.
Talk about just the way this team is growing, some of the things that you've seen in this team as the year goes along, some of the ways they've improved.
Well, we were a little bit more focused on defense and on offense, as a whole. We made some mistakes, but you could tell by the play, as you watch the film and get into the highlights, that we were a little bit more focused. And, the offense, we moved the ball very well. And, we done a lot of good things. And I was proud of that, but, being young again, the mistakes came back to bite us at critical times, and we just couldn't overcome that.
Talk about the experience factor. I mean, it's something that, that's a key with this team because, like we said, this team is very, very young with not a lot of varsity experience. The more they play under the lights, are you seeing more of, I know you're talking about, there's mistakes, and there's mistakes with any ball club, no matter what team it is or what level of football, but are you seeing like some things starting to get better and starting to get more confident, so to speak?
Absolutely. We as we make mistakes during the course of the game, once that play is over with, I'll tell them that we need to forget about it, but we need to learn about it. But at the end of the game, I'll usually go back and kind of recap the mistakes we made, which are usually at crucial times. And I'll tell them, once you play to make that mistake, you shouldn't make it again. So, I kind of set the bar for them while we're going through it, where they won't make those mistakes again.
You actually rushed the football for over 300 yards in the game. Talk about that running game and the way the offensive line is working up front.
Well, that was the game plan. I challenged the offensive line after the last game to step back up. They had been blocking well throughout the season, but the last game they kind of took a step back. Our Springville game, we kind of took a step back, and I think we ended up rushing for like 40-some yards. And that was a point of emphasis for us to be able to run the ball, because if you run it, it opens up the passing game. And also, I knew the weather was going to be a factor, so I wanted to kind of control the ball and give ourselves a chance to be in the game, and cut down on the swapping of possessions, and it worked out to our advantage. We outrushed them, and we actually, at time of possession, we had the ball longer than they did. We just came up on the short end of the stick.
Right. Talk about the field conditions, the things that they had to, weather through on the fields. Was it dry to a certain extent? I know it was wet, in general, but as far as fields drainage, how did all that work out?
Well, Moody Field was actually in excellent shape. It drains very well, and when we got out there, it wasn't as bad as we thought it would be. We had a constant rain, but it wasn't as bad as we thought it was. So the field conditions were actually non-factor. We were able to play just like, wetting the field down, and we were able to get through it, so it was no factor.
Absolutely. Coming up next here on the Bulldog Blitz, we will take a look at first half highlights of Anderson's game against Moody. We'll have that coming up next. And we're back here on the Bulldog Blitz. First half highlights of Anderson's game against Moody. First off, Coach, you get the football first, and you do a good job running the ball.
Well, they won the toss and deferred to the second half, and we were going to take the ball even if we had won the toss, because I wanted to get our offense a chance to run. And Right here you see us, we're running the veer, and sophomore running back, L.J. Hurd, kind of took his eyes off the football. If he had kept his eyes on the football, just fundamental things, we'd have been all right. And right there, we had we was inside the red zone, and we had a fade call, and, you know, for some reason, the quarterback done a back to shoulder throw, and they ended up picking the ball, so that stalled that first drive. Right here, we getting tremendous pressure on the guy, and we come right back and get an interception right here. That's another sophomore, Bashard Harris, and we go back to the veer again, and as you can see, LJ gets it, and once he gets it and turn the corner, you can see the type yardage that he gets, and we knew it was going to be there, and of course, we come right back and give him the toss, you know, and he's probably the fastest guy on the team, and we came back to the other side, and we let him get too much penetration on this particular toss here, and so we come right back and run a trap up the middle, and they couldn't figure out the trap all night, so we were able to run it down the field, and of course, right there, we ran just a lead to the left side, and quarterback fumbled the football, and right here we had a fade called again, and the quarterback just didn't put it up, so that was the end of the quarter. We come back with a reverse here, and if you look there, you know, DeMonte Miller took his eye off the football. Had he caught it, he probably would have walked in the end zone, and so that started the second drive. This particular play, we called it out. You know, they throw a lot of screens right here, and we knew 25 was the main guy, and we basically called the play out when it happened, and the outside linebacker just didn't go up and break down and make the tackle, you know, and it was a horrible throw, and you know, he just made an athletic play, went up and got it, and right here you can see Moody's driving the football, and on this particular play they ran a quick slant, and that was after timeout, and we called that play out, and told the cornerback, but he tried to do press man and slipped, and let the receiver get inside of him, and it resulted in a touchdown. And right here, we back on the ground running again, and that's Jermaine Akers does a tremendous job running the football. He gets in the red zone again, and of course sophomore running back tried to go over the top, and we fumbled the football back to him. So that's how they were able to get the football back. And you can see in this particular series, the defense is swarming pretty good, and that's something that we wanted to get back to. So we made them punt the football, and you know, we right back to the ground game, pounding it. And we had 3 opportunities in the red zone, but we just didn't capitalize on them, you know. And had not we given up that touchdown, you know, the score could have possibly been 21-0 in our favor, because you know, we actually got there, we just didn't capitalize.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that. Just, is that more frustrating, or is it more uplifting knowing, hey guys, we can do it, we just got to execute when we get down there?
Well, it's a little bit more frustrating at this point, because early in the season, you know, when guys are just learning, you know, you expect them to make some mistakes when they're young, but after you 5 or 6 ball games into the season and you get in the red zone, you know, at some point, willpower has to take over. You have to punch it in the end zone, and we just, you know, we got there 3 times, and we just, you know, one person make a mistake, the next time somebody different make a mistake, and it got frustrating, but I had to try to go back in at halftime and just keep them positive, because, you know, as you can see, it was just a 7-0 ball game.
Talk about that running game, because you said that you wanted to go in and you wanted to run the football, and not just running it, but really running it in those A and B gaps, like really tight right in there, and you're able to find some space there. And like you said, they had problems with the trap, and you know, you guys executed that run game really well.
Well, got a new center and a young guy, sophomore, Omar Williams, and I wanted to kind of protect him. So when we ran the football, we wanted to get some double teams in there. And actually, he started off blocking pretty well, and I knew the other 4 guys, you know, even though they're younger guys, you know, they pretty much been established all year, and we just wanted to sort of redeem ourselves, because like I said, against Springville when we played, I think we only rushed the football for 47 yards, and we threw for over 200, but that's, you know, I think in order to be a good football team, you got to run the football.
Right.
And, you know, when you run it, it adds another dimension to the game, and you know, regardless to what the condition or what the situation was, we were going to run the football, and they did a good job at it.
This whole season, your team has been good in the second half, played a lot better in the second half. Once they're able to kind of relax, see what they've done, and then go out and execute. What was some of the things you said to the team at halftime, and some of the things you told the offensive guys and some of the defensive guys?
Basically just spoke to them about focus, you know, and listening. You know, a lot of times I challenge my guys, and I tell them when the coaches are talking to them that they hear them but they don't listen. And You know, basically the difference between the two, when you hear somebody, I tell them it's just a physical act of receiving sound waves in your ear. But when you listen, you process that information and then you respond or you react to what the coach says. And that's all we focus on, listening, just listening at what the coach say. And when we went back out, you know, you could look at them and tell we kind of had that focus. And that was just a point of emphasis the entire game. Just listen at what we're saying.
Absolutely. They played well in the first half, down just 7-0. In the second half, they play a lot better. And it's his game against Moody. Second half highlights coming up next here on the Bulldog Blitz. Welcome back to the Bulldog Blitz. Aniston second half highlights against Moody. Coach, you got the ball in the first half. You go on defense there in the second half. Talk about the way you wanted to get rolling defensively.
Okay, we got a great kickoff right here and got pretty decent coverage. I think we could have pinned them back a little bit closer to their goal line, but we got a few guys, young guys out of their lane, and right here you can see the defense is sort of flying around. So we kind of got a grip on what they're trying to do, and you know, they got their heads up and they're moving around, and we were able to make them punt, and we got the football back right there. You can see that's my freshman quarterback there, Savion Bethune. I told him that he was going to get at least a couple of series in this game because I want him to get his feet wet. And he actually went in and got us a great drive. You know, he's very, very smart. Right there, you can see him running the option there. And, of course, we took our eyes off the football again. And we end up fumbling the football, and Moody recovered the football, so you know we had a turnover right there, and of course we had about 6 turnovers in the game. And right here we run the option again, and that's Quintavious Dobbins. He keeps it for a pretty good game right here on the triple option. We come back and run the counter option right here again, same play again, and you know he gets a pretty decent gain off of that. Okay, we come back here. And we run the bootleg again. Of course, that's the freshman quarterback there again, and he got us in pretty good shape right here. And we tried to run the screen right here, and of course, we got it set up pretty good, and we ended up scoring a touchdown off of this particular screen play here, and kicked the PAT and tied it up right here. So at this particular point, we tied up 7-7, and you know, pretty good drive right here. Defense came back again. Pretty good drive right here, and of course you can see everybody flying around. It's Josh Duncan, and got a good stop. And right there we had called safe on us. You know, the young mistake right there that Force guy should have broke down and made him kick the ball. And you know, and we told him number 25 was back punting, so they need to expect some. And right there we got a blessing in disguise. A safety blew a coverage, and the receiver just dropped the football. We come right back here and we run a counter right here, and that's L.J. Hurd. And like I say, he's pretty fast and made a good run. He ended up finishing the night rushing for 119 yards. He led us in rushing. Right here you see Jermaine Akers kind of piled his way down on the trap, and we scored again. And at this particular point, we up 14-7 with 6 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. So the key was to hold them right here. Of course, we come back and we blow up the coverage assignment on the slot guy. Yeah, first mistake, and then we come right back here, and you know, we should have broke down right there and made a good tackle there, but we, you know, kind of trying to get the kill shot things young guys do, and then they come back, and we was in zone coverage right here, and they ended up running a wheel route, and in 3 plays we let them in the end zone, you know, so we came right back. They kicked off to us. And the first play, we fumbled the football. Quarterback tried to pull out too quick from under the center. We fumbled the football, and you know, it just seemed like things started falling apart. You know, so you know, I was trying to rally the troops back again. You know, they came back and ran the same wheel route again, and you know, just making young mistakes. You know, and you can see right here, L.J. Hurd is running the football pretty tough, and you know, we getting yardage, trying to get in position, and we come back right there, and we throw an interception right there, you know, trying to get it all too quickly. But the defense came and held out. You know, we forced them into a punt situation, and DeMonte Miller here fields the punt, you know, and this one situation where he kind of danced around, which I'm against, but, you know, he's trying to make something happen and got us pretty good field position right here. And, we felt like we had another chance at it right here. So we come back and, Quintavious airs one out and, the receiver, that was a route for him to keep going, but we ended up getting a pass interference call. And we come right back and run the short out, and we only have a few seconds left right here. So we called a crossing route right here. The quarterback should have stepped up and kind of heaved it to the end zone, but he just walked out of bounds, and that's just a lack of football IQ, and he should have thrown it to the end zone and gave our receivers a chance to make a play on the football.
Yeah, we talk a lot about trying to handle the things towards the end of the game. We talk about just the discipline it took for the defense to keep coming up and keep making plays and try to keep the offense into it.
Well, we wanted to try to keep them focused because that's very discouraging for a defense when you go out and you felt like you've done your part, which a team is a team, but you felt like you've done your part, and then the offense come out and we just give it right back to them, in a play or two, or we make a turnover. So, we work on that sudden change, keeping the defense focused, that, we may make a mistake, but, forget the mistake, you got to go back in and just play. And they did a tremendous job at doing that.
We saw some of the guys making plays there in the highlights. Were there any guys that you saw that maybe graded out well on the opposite line or played well defensively that you saw that didn't necessarily make the highlights?
Well, the entire offensive line, I was proud of them because, like I said, we rushed, for over 300 yards. So, anytime an offensive team rush like that, somebody's blocking.
Right.
And defensively, I was proud. We had Davion Tippin. We started him at defensive end, and we had Elijah Jackson. He led us in tackles, and he's also the right tackle on offense. So, been challenging him about going both ways, and he played a tremendous job. Had 14 tackles on defense. So, he did a tremendous job. And, of course, we had the other defensive end, Dash Sturkin. We had Tyler Johnson and Jay Parker at linebacker. He played a tremendous game.
Absolutely. Now, as you look at the rest of the season, is it one of those where you want to handle it where you are getting some of these young guys a lot more experience on Friday nights?
Absolutely. We still got young guys, and like I said, we only start 2 seniors on offense. So, and of course, you saw my freshman quarterback go in, and he'll be getting a lot more reps as the season progresses. We still have 3 more games. And then defensively, we got some more younger guys we're going to get in because, you kind of want to have them, let them get that playing experience so they can actually see what it's like to play on the varsity level.
Absolutely. They'll close out their season against 2 more region opponents, and you have St. Clair County coming up next week. We'll talk about that game right here on the Bulldog Blitz. And welcome back into the Bulldog Blitzes, the segment we take a look ahead to see who Anderson plays next. It's Week 8, Game 7, and it's another big region game against the St. Clair County Fighting Saints. Talk about just what you know. Obviously, at this point, as we shoot today, you haven't seen a ton of film on them, but what do you know about some of their background?
Well, very athletic team. We played them in the past, about 4 years ago, and they always very athletic, fly around. And team similar, makeup similar to our team.
They're 1-5 overall. Talk about just the mathematical part of this whole thing. That as far as the postseason goes, as far as the playoffs goes, you're not out of it at all.
Absolutely not. The 4th spot, depending on what Alexandria does and what St. Clair County and Anderson, and of course Springville does. We all have a viable shot at the 4th spot. But each team will have to win, and then you have to have some things that happen. Of course, Alexander's the front runner right now because they got 3 wins so far. So, that of course put them ahead of us in St. Clair County with 1 win, and Springville also with 2 wins. Right.
Talk about this region overall. You've now got a chance to see just about everybody on the field and on film, so to speak. And so you've been able to kind of see what everybody brings to the table. You saw some of the quote-unquote upsets with Lincoln knocking off Mortimer Jordan last week. Just talk about this region overall as you head into your final region games.
Well, it's a little bit like the region we played in last year, Region 6. The records are not indicative of, what type of team that you're playing. You know,
Right.
for instance, St. Clair County is a 1-win team, but of course they could easily have, 4 wins.
Right.
Easily, within the conference, and it's just, which team is playing best at that particular time. And of course, Springville is the same way, and then you got us there. We played some close ball games, and then I guess the biggest upset was, Lincoln beat Mortimer Jordan, which Lincoln has a great team. So, it's a lot of parity there, but at the same time, it just depends on which teams show up. I think some of the other teams are facing some of the same problems that we face, with inexperience and a lot of youth and, a lot of mistakes at crucial times. So, I think everybody going through that, probably except Lincoln and Mortimer Jordan.
Right. Talk about the experience factor. We've talked about how you're going to handle, the rest of towards the end of the season and being able to get some of those younger guys in. Talk about that as you gear them up in practice to say, hey guys, anytime your number can get called.
Well, we always do it in practice. I have my practice schedule set where the young guys are never standing around. Whatever we do with the ones, we do it with the twos. And so they already prepared for it. And I just told them, they actually going to, whereas they may not get that much playing time in a varsity game, they'll be getting more time because you want them to see the speed of the game and actually, feel the hit from a varsity team. And, it's just much different from playing B-team football.
Right. You've been a good team on the road, both last year and this year. You've played well on the road even in this season.
Right.
Talk about that aspect of it. Like, what is it, like a business-like focus that this team has?
Well, the theory behind it is you want to win your games at home and at least 50% of your games on the road. So we've always stressed that, and up until recently, we've had a few pitfalls, but we've always been a good road team. We can generate a good focus when we go on the road, and I guess it's due to lack of distractions and friends and family calling and things like that. But we're trying to get that focus back and put it all back together when we play at home. Right.
You always talk about trying to improve as the team and get players to improve and be complete players themselves. Talk about some of the guys and some of the work that's gone into that from the beginning of the year to this year. Some of the guys you've seen improve throughout the course of the season.
Well, I'm proud, like I said, of my freshman quarterback. Of course, my offensive line. All of those guys will be returning next year. So. They're young. All your running backs will be returning. I only lose one receiver. And defensively, I'm most proud of Tay Gordon. He's a sophomore linebacker, number 22. Very, very physical. And I've been trying to get him in, but he's been a little reluctant confidence-wise. In this particular game, he played an excellent game, had about 9 tackles, and I played the entire game. So, just player development. And I tell my coaches, if you got a football team and you don't have no young guys waiting in the wings to get in, you got problems. And, we've been pretty young. We hadn't had the senior leadership like we wanted, and good group of young guys, though, very disciplined. And, I told them we want to finish strong and just get our focus for next year so that when we come in, we won't face some of the same problems that we face, being inexperienced.
Right. Final question. Those guys now are getting a chance to see all these teams play for this time. All these teams were new. Like St. Clair County was new, Moody was new, Mortimer Jordan was new. How good is that also being able to not just to get playing experience, but playing experience gets these kind of guys that they'll see again next year? Well,
they won't have to just rely on what we tell them. They've actually saw them on film and they've actually been out on the football field against them. So now, it's all in the preparation that they put in as far as watching, the guys. And most of them know the guys that are returning. So, they know all of that. They do that much as far as, getting the information on the players. So, it shouldn't be new. And next year it's just a fact of us, learning how to win the close games. And that's what we want to stress the last 3 ball games is that, finding a way to win games, even when your competition is at the same level you got to find a way to win.
Absolutely. The Bulldogs look to finish the season strong, starting with a big game at home against Springville. Go out to Lot Mosby Memorial Stadium and check out the Bulldogs. Go support them. Thank you for joining us here on the Bulldog Blitz. We'll see you next week. God bless.